So my story really begins growing up as a young girl. And I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to this, but I had the most amazing mother in the whole world. She was nurturing and warm and loving, and she was completely involved in our lives. So she was PTA president. She was team mom for every sport that we were in. She was taking my brother and all his friends up to the snowboarding, every weekend in the winter. She was the mom that every kid in the neighborhood wanted to come hang out at our house and be around my mom because she was cool and she was loving and giving. And the thing about my mom is she gave and gave and gave to all of us kids, to my dad, to the community, to the school. But what she forgot to do is she forgot to give back to herself. So I watched my mom, as I know many of you guys can relate, through most of my life living a pretty unhappy life. So although she was nurturing and involved and helping us in so many ways, she was overweight for most of her life. She was not making good choices physically, mentally, emotionally. She was not happy in her relationship with my dad since we were babies, basically. She wasn't really present in a lot of her relationships. She didn't really live her life fully. So this is what I watched growing up. And when I was a teenager in high school, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And luckily at the time the breast cancer came and it wasn't too aggressive, it wasn't too evolved, but it definitely shook us up. It shook her up. And the doctor said, you have two choices. You can either have a lumpectomy, she had it in both breasts. So you can have a lumpectomy, you can remove the lump, or you can opt for a double mastectomy. Have both removed, and they told her if you go for that, you're going to have a good, happy, healthy life. You won't have to worry about cancer. You won't have to be worried about being sick. You can go back to living how you're living. So my mom said, sweet. Not so sweet, but sweet. I'm going to go for that. I'm going to have the double mastectomy and go back to living my life. So she did. And it shook her up a little bit. She saw a therapist at the time. Some stuff came up between her and my dad. Definitely shook her up. But she immediately went right back into her old patterns. She didn't really change her life. She didn't change her eating. She didn't start exercising. She continued giving and giving and giving. So eventually my brother and I graduated from high school. We went to college, and she didn't have kids to give to anymore. So she went and found a 50, 60-hour work week job that she didn't really need because there was plenty of money, but she needed something to do. She could not sit still. She couldn't reflect back on herself, right? We all know how that is. So she had a crazy job. She lived on her Starbucks coffees, went to work, did her job. And fast forward exactly, almost to the day, it's eerie, from the time that she was diagnosed with first breast cancer, 10 years later, diagnosed again. Breast cancer again. So it shook everybody up, right? Wait a minute, you don't even have boobs. How can you have breast cancer? And it was scary. And unfortunately, this time around, the cancer came back much more aggressive, a lot uglier. And this time, it really shook my mom up. And she immediately started to change her life. She started seeing a nutritionist, completely changed the way she was eating. Again, it was like, seriously, Starbucks coffee was her breakfast, lunch. Went back to her therapist, started mending relationships. She started saying no to people like me. I was her daughter, and I was like, wait a minute, you're saying no to me. But looking back now, I realized she was starting to say no because she needed to take care of herself. She needed to set boundaries. She quit that job. She started going on vacation. She started living her life. The problem was she started living her life in the last 2 years of her life. So during this time that she was diagnosed for the second time, I was in a master's program studying holistic health education. I was traveling around teaching yoga. I've taught yoga for years and years. So I was completely immersed in this world of health, right? And here's my mom dying of breast cancer. And at the very same time, I got pregnant with my first baby. It was like the universe was just serving me up a perfect platter of everything crazy at the same time. So my first baby was born, and my mom was present for his birth, which was amazing. But all of a sudden, many of you guys are in this space right now, I was humbled and completely hit with the challenges and difficulties and intensity of being a mother. It was crazy. And I have a master's degree in holistic health. I'm a yoga teacher. I know how to take care of myself, right? But suddenly I didn't. And all of those tendencies that I watched my mom as a girl were creeping up into me. So now I'm my mom. I'm giving and giving and giving to my baby. I'm giving and giving to my husband, to the community. I'm giving and giving to my mother, who's dying. But the person being forgotten in the equation is me. And my mom died 8 months after my first baby was born. And at that time, I had this awakening. And I vowed to myself and to my baby and to my husband and to my unborn child and to my unborn grandbabies that her story is not going to be mine. And when I say that, I mean that I chose that I'm not going to start living my life in the last 2 years of my life. Not when somebody says, time's up, you better go now. I'm going to do it now because I want to live a really healthy, happy life for my children. I want to be a grandma. My mom's not a grandma. She's not here, and it sucks. So I want to be here for my kids. And really where that starts is it starts by taking care of ourselves each and every day and making self-care a priority. So again, it's not a guilty pleasure. It is not indulgent to start saying yes to yourself and to start saying no to other people, but it's necessary. So self-care for me at that time when my mom passed away was community. I was starting to really build sisterhood around me, building support groups around me. For me, it's yoga. If I'm not getting my yoga, I'm a mess. It sucks. I'm not happy. I'm eating well and just taking time, and I'm not perfect at all. This is a practice. When you guys were talking about practice a little bit. So I like to think about practice making progress. It's not perfection. I'm a mom. I'm a business owner now. Holy shit, like it's not easy. But it is my practice, and I'm aware of what I need to be doing to take care of myself. And I'm aware of the value behind it because I have my mom as that model and inspiration, leading that way. So out of this vow to myself, it kind of started taking steps further, and I wanted to take that further out into the community, and I wanted to create a space where women can come together and they can heal together and they can be in community together, they can be practicing yoga, whatever it is for them, so that they can start resetting and coming back to themselves. So that's really where Bloom was born. And every day now, I work with women that come into Bloom, and I hear their stories, and they're all very similar to everything I just heard in here. But the stories are always, well, when my kids start school in 5 years, then I'll have time for myself. Or when the kids finally leave the house, then I'll have time for myself, and I can start thinking about that passion that I can't wait to do. Or when my husband gets that better job and there's more money, then I can start taking care of myself. I call bullshit. It won't happen. There's always going to be another block. There's always going to be something else standing in your way. Your opportunity is right now, not in 10 years, not in 20 years. It's now. And it's so vital and it's so important to start that care. It's an entire paradigm shift, really. It's like, I know that my mother inherited that from her own mother, this generation of sort of believing that we're not worth it, that we need to be in the back seat. Everybody else needs the priority, the money, the attention before us. And then we're the ones suffering in the front. So the other day somebody asked me, she's like, well, what would be your top 3 tips for self-care for women, if you could just spell it out? So that's what I'm going to do for you guys right now. So number 1, start saying no. Get on the no train. Because as I know many of you can relate, and I watch my mom do, and then myself, we say yes over and over and over again to all these things we don't really want to say yes to. And every time we do that, we're martyring ourselves. So start paying attention to those things in your life that you can choose to say no to. And when something comes up that you're about to say yes to, and you know it in your body, in your heart, in your mind, you can feel it, I don't want to say yes to this, start saying no. And start to recognize and understand how you're feeling in that moment when you say no. For me, it's really liberating. It's really empowering. You start to feel that, oh yeah, I actually am the owner of my own time, of my days, of my life, really. And I don't have to say yes to everything. So that's number one. It doesn't cost anything, right? Start saying no. Number two is ask for help. So I think you were talking about asking for help, asking your neighbor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Ask for help. People want to help us, and women sort of have this belief system that by asking for help, maybe we're showing weakness. You know, that we're these super women and we're supposed to be able to do everything, work, run the household, raise our kids. The truth is we can't. We need help. So ask your help. Can you ask your neighbor to do babysitting, swapping? You know, can you ask your husband to give you a massage because you've had a really long day and your body hurts and you need some attention? Can you ask your mom or your good friends to just sit on the phone and listen to you, just like vomit your thoughts without judgment and without even really saying anything back, just people to support you and hold you. So ask for help. And number three is start saying yes to yourself. So there are so many things that I hear women every day. They want to write that novel they've been thinking about for years and years, or they want to start taking yoga, or they want to get out there and walk. Whatever it is, I know that everybody has these little things that they're dying to do, but we put them on the back burner and we don't say yes to it for whatever reason. So start making yourself a priority and start saying yes to yourself and those things that you want in your life. Because once you start doing that, just by saying yes, by saying no to the things that you don't want, all these other things start to fall into place. You naturally start making better choices for yourself. You naturally start eating better. You naturally start feeling better because you're living in a more aligned place. So I invite you to start thinking about those three things. Simple. Say no, ask for help, and say yes to yourself. I'm so happy to be here and talk with you guys today. I blog weekly about self-care tips, mostly for mothers. Bloom is mainly focused on mothers, women. If you guys are interested in getting those self-care tips, I have an email list, sign up over here. And I also forgot I was going to give everybody a free week pass to Bloom, and I did not bring them. I forgot them. So if you guys want me to email you a free week pass to Bloom, put your name down on that list. And there are folders back here with some information about Bloom. And that is it. And I wanted to open it up to ask any questions.
Oh, I guess how much is the childcare? That's always like on most of our minds.
Yeah, there's different price options. So it starts at $5 each half an hour as a non-member. And then there's membership options where the prices go way down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And per child?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then as members, it goes down.
Mm-hmm.
So check out a folder because all of that information is in there. Yeah. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
It helps ignite you and start making some change now, today.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I appreciate it.